For over 100 years, there's been a document buried in the inner order curriculum of the Golden Dawn. Most mages have heard the name. Very few have read it. Fewer still have understood what it actually means. It's called the Z.2 Document, and it reveals something so structurally precise, so audacious, that once you see it, you can't unsee it. The rituals of the Golden Dawn are more than a collection of separate techniques. They're expressions of one underlying initiatory formula, different on the surface, identical in architecture. The Banishing Ritual, the Hexagram Ritual, Godform Assumption, Consecration, Invocation, Transformation. Different operations, different variables. Same hidden formula. Welcome to MageSpace. Most mages approach the Golden Dawn system as a collection of separate technologies. The LBRP for daily clearing, the middle pillar for bringing down the light, the hexagram ritual for planetary work, the rose cross for astral invisibility, Godform Assumption for invocation. You accumulate procedures the way a carpenter collects tools. A hammer here, a chisel there, you learn the tool, you apply the tool, you put it back. This is the outer order model of practice, and to be clear, it works, up to a point. But there's a problem. If you only know what the rituals look like, but you do not understand why they work, you're operating at the level of the user interface. You click the icon, the program runs, something happens, but you don't know what's happening in the kernel. The Z.2 documents are what's in the kernel. There are 3 of them, Z1, Z2, Z3. They appear in Regardi's collected Golden Dawn material, and a lot of people read the rituals and skip the Z documents entirely. Understandable, they're dense, they're technical, they are not written like beginner instruction manuals. They're written for people who already have the Neophyte structure in their bones. But that is exactly why they matter. Because Z2 isn't just another text. Z2 is the master formula. Z2 is titled The Formulae of the Magick of Light, and its central insight is this. The Neophyte ceremony is more than a ceremony. It's a formula, a complete operational template. It's a ritual architecture that can be adapted to different magical operations. In the outer order, the Neophyte ceremony appears as an initiation. A candidate is brought into the hall, officers take their stations, the temple is configured, the candidate is led through darkness, forces are invoked, the light is revealed, the candidate is transformed. But Z2 shows that this is more than a one-time initiation drama. It's a pattern, a magical algorithm. The Neophyte hall becomes a model for the operation itself. And that model can be applied to different targets, different forms of invocation, different consecrations, different transformations. The candidate changes, the officers change, the field of operation changes, the formula remains. This is the key. Every major working isn't literally the Neophyte ceremony repeated word for word. The deeper point is that every major working can be understood as an adaptation of the same initiatory architecture. A thing is selected, a space is configured, forces are stationed, a current is invoked, a transformation is performed, the result is sealed. That's the pattern. That's the machinery underneath the visible ritual. Z2 is the manual that shows you how the machinery works. In this formula, there are several essential components. There is the candidate, that which is to be transformed. There are the officers, the powers, forces, functions, or divine agencies performing the transformation. There is the hall, the configured ritual container in which the operation occurs. There is the movement through darkness into light. There is the establishment of order. There is the revelation of the current. There is the sealing of the result. Once you understand this, the rituals stop looking like isolated techniques. They become different expressions of one pattern, different programs running on the same operating system. Take the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. On the surface, the LBRP is a daily ritual of clearing, protection, orientation, and temple building. You perform the Kabbalistic cross. You trace the pentagrams. You vibrate the divine names. You call the archangels. You seal the space. Most practitioners learn it as a foundational banishing ritual. And that is correct, but structurally, there is more happening. The LBRP is not literally the Neophyte ceremony, but it echoes and condenses the same temple building logic. A space is established. The operator is centered on the vertical axis. The quarters are ordered. Divine names are vibrated into the field. The archangelic powers are stationed. The practitioner stands at the center of a consecrated pattern. In the Neophyte ceremony, the hall is built around the candidate. In solitary practice, the hall is built through the body, the imagination, the voice, and the inner field of awareness of the practitioner. This is why the LBRP is more than clearing the room. That's the shallow reading. The deeper reading is that the LBRP teaches the operator how to construct a magical field. The Kabbalistic cross establishes the axis, above and below, inner and outer, crown and kingdom. The pentagrams establish the perimeter. The divine names charge the quarters. The archangels station the elemental guardians of the field. The operator stands in the center as the central point of a constructed temple. You are touching the same formulaic logic that Z.2 makes explicit. You're configuring the hall. And this is the part most people miss. If you enter a traditional Golden Dawn order, the Neophyte ceremony is performed around you. The hall is built, the officers take their stations, the candidate is led through darkness, the forces are invoked, the light is revealed. But when you're working alone, the formula becomes internalized. The practitioner must become the candidate, the temple, and the officer in a single body. That does not mean temple initiation has no value. It does, but it does mean the solitary mage receives the same benefits from their solo practice. The solitary practitioner is learning to reproduce the magical logic of the temple inwardly and ritually. The Great Initiation Ceremony is the large-scale dramatization of the formula. The daily Neophyte formula is the same logic made practical, repeatable, embodied, available every morning. The point is not just to memorize the ceremony, the point is to become capable of generating the pattern. Now look at the middle pillar. Many people treat it as an energy exercise, and again, that isn't wrong, but it's incomplete. The middle pillar takes the axis established in the Kabbalistic cross and deepens it. The light is brought down through the central column, Keter, Da'at, Tiperet, Yesod, Malkut. The operator becomes the field through which the current descends. If the LBRP configures the hall, the middle pillar illumines the vertical column within that hall. In initiatory terms, the candidate is doing more than merely standing inside a consecrated space. The candidate is being brought into alignment with the descent of light. The light is a current. It descends through the structure. This is why sequence matters. You don't just pile rituals on top of each other, you build a circuit. First the axis, then the field, then the descent, then the circulation, then the integration. This is how the formula becomes embodied. Now take the Hexagram Ritual. In the Hexagram Ritual, the work moves beyond the elemental field and into the planetary or zodiacal sphere. You're no longer working only with the immediate elemental ordering of the temple. You are configuring the sphere of the operation at the macrocosmic level. The candidate is now more than the personal field of the operator. It may be the planetary force being invoked, the planetary force being banished, the sphere of operation being conditioned, the specific magical intention being brought under formula. The scale has changed, the architecture has not. A field is established, a current is selected, a force is admitted, dismissed, balanced, or brought into manifestation. The operator stands inside the formula and directs the operation according to its structure. This is why the hexagram ritual should not be treated as just a bigger version of the pentagram ritual. Not only is it bigger, it's different in scale. The pentagram orders the elemental field. The hexagram orders the planetary and zodiacal field, but both depend on the same magical principle. A configured space receives, directs, or removes a specific current. Same formula, different level. Z2 running through another scale of the system. Now look at Godform Assumption. Here, the structure becomes even more intimate. The candidate is the ordinary human personality, the lower self. The officer is the divine form being assumed. The whole is the astral body, the subtle body, the inner temple of the operator. In proper Godform Assumption, you are constructing a divine form as a magical office. You're entering the form. You're allowing the human personality to be patterned by it. You're bringing the candidate into temporary identification with the divine function of the officer. When the assumption holds, the lower personality is brought into alignment with a higher pattern. For a time, the human self is reorganized around the divine image. Same formula, different variables. The LBRP conditions the space. The middle pillar conditions the axis. The hexagram ritual conditions the sphere. Godform Assumption conditions the operator. They are different applications of one initiatory architecture. When you understand this, something changes in how you practice. You stop performing rituals as isolated performances. You start seeing the machinery. Every gesture has a function. Every vibration has a location within the formula. Every divine name does something specific. Every movement through the temple corresponds to a change in the field. When you do the LBRP, you're learning to construct a sacred space. When you do the middle pillar, you're learning to receive and circulate light through an ordered column. When you do the hexagram ritual, you're learning to bring planetary and zodiacal forces into a configured sphere of operation. When you assume a god form, you're learning to let the operator itself become the site of initiation. This is why the Golden Dawn system is more than a list of rituals. It's a training in magical structure. The rituals teach you how consciousness, space, force, image, vibration, and intention are organized into an operative pattern. And that pattern is initiatory. It moves from darkness to light, from disorder to order, from potential to manifestation, from unformed matter to consecrated vessel. And the formula is powerful because it is built on an initiatory drama far older than the Golden Dawn. The candidate enters darkness. The candidate is veiled. The candidate is led. The candidate encounters guardians, powers, thresholds, and ordeals. The light is revealed. The person who exists is not the same as the person who entered. You see this pattern across mystery traditions, in Egyptian and Osirian symbolism, in the death and resurrection drama, in Masonic initiation, in initiatory myths of descent and return. The Golden Dawn took this pattern and gave it a ritual grammar. It placed it inside a Kabbalistic, Hermetic, Rosicrucian, and magical framework. Z2 names the operating formula and shows how to apply it. That is why it matters. It tells you how ritual itself is being structured. There's a reason this is not usually where beginners start. Z2 requires you to hold the Neophyte structure in your mind as a living pattern, not as trivia, not as historical information, as a working model. If the foundation has not been built, the formula can become abstract. The signal is there, but the instrument isn't tuned. You can't safely operate a transformer you haven't wired correctly. The current flows best through a circuit that has been built in order. This is why the outer order exists. It builds the circuit grade by grade. Neophyte establishes the foundation. Z.2 grounds the work in earth. Theoricus opens the field of air. Practicus brings the current into water. Philosophus passes through fire. Portal begins the synthesis. The formula is already encoded in the work, whether you see it or not. Every grade builds another part of the instrument. Every ritual trains another function of the operator. Every repetition strengthens the circuit. Then, when the structure is stable, Z.2 turns the key. This is also why scattered occult information can only take you so far. You can learn the LBRP from one source, the middle pillar from another, the Hexagram Ritual from another, Godform Assumption from another, a planetary invocation from another, and each piece may be valid, but if the pieces are not placed into sequence, the deeper architecture is harder to see. You end up with fragments of a system instead of a path, and Magick is a path. It is a graded construction of the magical operator. The rituals are not only things you do, they are things that build you. That is the difference. That is what the MageSpace Golden Dawn Magic course is built to teach. Not just what the rituals are, how they fit together, how the formula works, how the foundation becomes a path, how the neophyte work leads into the elemental grades, how the elemental grades lead toward planetary ritual, Kabbalistic bodywork, daily grade formulas, and the gradual construction of the body of light. The course contains over 100 guided video lessons, beginning with the foundation and moving through Neophyte, Z.2, Theoricus, Practicus, Philosophus, and Portal. Every ritual is broken down mechanically so you can actually understand what you're doing. The complete system is linked below. And if you're curious where the current leads before entering the full course, the free LBRP training is there too. Either this calls to you or it doesn't. Magic works, and now you know one more reason why. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.